of live with Hui Hui and Lim Tian.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi everyone, we are here today because the AGC sent us letter yesterday.
That's all you're going to say?
Oh, I was cross-examined from 9 AM to 12 PM on 25th January 2023, and I will have to be cross-examined again on 22nd February again at 9 AM. Also, I went through the cross-examination with my 3 children. So all my 3 children went through court hearing. They go to court instead of going to infant care or child care. And so from 9 AM to 10 AM, I breastfed my baby at 8 AM to 9 AM. Then wait for the hearing to start at 9 AM. Then after 1 hour, I fed again from 10 AM to 11 AM. Then I go through the cross-examination again from 10 to 11. From 11 to 12. Yeah.
Okay, Lim Tian, you know since yesterday, everybody talking about this thing about one MP join one big company, then a lot of people say conflict of interest lah. Then then the company, I think they changed the job title on it. Yeah. So as a lawyer, you graduated from Cambridge, right? I understand.
Yes.
Yeah. So as a lawyer, I'm sure you studied conflict of interest, right? So can you tell us something about your take on what's happening? This thing about change the job title and
You see, conflict of interest is a very commonsensical concept, right? You don't have to be a lawyer to know if you are potentially in a conflict of interest situation. From what I read, the PAP put out a statement, said, last year, Tin Pei Ling had informed the party about her new job, and based on what she told them, they didn't think that there was a conflict of interest. But now, after the huge uproar, they have asked her again and realized that there could potentially be a conflict of interest because she would have to be in regular contact with maybe government ministers and all that. Now, I made a very short post in my Telegram channel yesterday, and I said, this is such a wonderful illustration of people's power. Hey, Tin Pei Ling was forced to change her position in Grab not because of PAP's own self check own self, okay? But because people saw through the potential dangers, all right? And now the PAP has had to come out with this statement. Tin Pei Ling has had to change position. But I realized today from messages that actually Grab already has a director for corporate development. Does it mean that now there will be 2 directors of corporate development? But my friends, let me reiterate again. How often have we heard from the PAP, look here, we don't need people to govern us. We own self check own self. And how many times, it has happened, right? And I was just remarking to someone today, the PAP seems to be shooting themselves in the foot every single day these days. All right? Let's not recount the incidents. But, hey, if I am the PAP and I had questioned Tin Pei Ling last year about her new job, don't you think that is commonsensical? You would ask her what her job entails instead of just relying on what she tells you? First of all, the title of her job, Director of Public Policy or something like that, was it? Something public and policy. Would you not put 2 and 2 together to surmise that she would be in touch with government officials and ministers? So, kudos Singaporeans, I say well done, all right? And I think, people need to speak up, be fearless, and hold the government to account.
Hui Hui, we all know you are not a lawyer. You never even go to university, right? So, what do you have to say about this conflict of interest thing?
First of all, Singaporeans are the ones who chose to continuously vote for the PAP since way before independence. In Singapore, we have the same government, the same political party since way before independence. So just think of how much the brainwashing, the propaganda, the machinery that the government has used against almost anybody who even just raised questions against government policies. And Singaporeans are also the ones who chose to have people who are in parliament who are there just part-time, not full-time, just part-time, once a week for the Meet the People session. And then it's only 4 times a week. On the last week, they will not be there. Not only that, the Singaporeans are the ones who allow these people to hold numerous directorships and not be accountable for anything. And they don't have to be transparent on how much income they are earning on top of their members of parliament, their monthly allowance, on top of their ministerial salary. So Singaporeans are the ones who chose this.
Can I add on to that? One of my biggest grouses about conflict of interest is this. You know our Speaker of Parliament, right? He can be a CEC member of the PAP. Can you believe that? Yeah? That means he's effectively involved in the running of the party as well, because the CEC is the Central Executive Committee, right? I mean, I find that astounding. You know what happens in the British Parliament? Of course, the Speaker has to be a member of Parliament. But once he is elected Speaker, he renounces any ties with his party, all right? So that he can be totally impartial. But when it comes to election time, you know, they have an understanding, the political parties have an understanding that he will not be opposed, all right, in the elections. But, you know, and here all the time, people are complaining about Tan Chuan Jin's conduct of proceedings in Parliament. They're saying, why are you shutting down the opposition? Why are you shutting down Leong Man Wai? Why are you shutting down the WP? All right? It doesn't lend itself to a perception of impartiality. I am sorry to say that. Yeah? And it is because the PAP can come to Singaporeans and tell them, oh no, there is no conflict of interest if Tan Chuan Jin is Speaker of Parliament and yet he is in the CEC. I leave it to you to judge for yourself. All right? I think this Tin Pei Ling incident is a very good first step in Singaporeans finally telling the PAP enough is enough. And I hope people from now on will scrutinize the party even more and point out instances where MPs are really acting in conflict of interest.
I think this is not the first time whereby the government simply asks someone to change the job title just because the person got slammed for it. Like, for example, back in 2013, when the AGC was involved for the first defamation letter that I received, they actually declared that they threatened to sue me for defamation, but they didn't actually sue me for defamation. That was back in 2013 when I was 31 years old. Now it's 2023 and the AGC is still sending me letter, and it has been like 11 years of continuous and persistent political persecution in Singapore. And the AGC simply shut down the whole statutory board, which was known as the CPE back then. Then in 2014, when we protested against the CPF minimum sum, they simply changed the name to call it CPF Retirement